Hello and welcome to the first edition of the Backpage Sport podcast. Today I have with me my good friend James Nolan. James?
How's it going?
And we're here to talk about all things sport related, mostly football. So on the agenda today we have the Premier League, we have the La Liga, and we have the playoffs as well as a general news roundup. So first thing I'm going to put to you, James, I have the Premier League table in my hand here. Liverpool are in fourth place, Manchester City in third place, Arsenal fifth. Who's going to get top four?
Well, Luke, in my opinion, the table's pretty much going to remain the way it is now. I can't see Man City or Liverpool slipping up on the weekend, if I'm being honest. I think for the first time in 21 years in his Arsenal career, Arsene Wenger is going to miss out on the top four, and he'll have to set with Europa League, because could you really see Liverpool? Well, they have a history of slipping up against the teams you'd expect them to be. But can you really see them slipping up at home to Middlesbrough on Sunday?
I don't think. We're both Liverpool fans for all the listeners, so we're not going to deny that. But we're going to look at things from a pretty, unbiased standpoint. I'm nervous. I'm shitting myself for this weekend, and that's not a lie, because if we mess this up, the storm is going to be a long one, and it's going to be an ugly one. There's every chance that we will win on the weekend. We're at home, the cop's behind us, hopefully it'll be a lovely summer's day, but, I don't see Arsenal slipping up, and I definitely don't see Manchester City slipping up. They're playing away to Watford, so they're just going to sit back, probably win. I think the pressure's on us. Of all the teams, I feel like we're the team most under pressure. I don't know how you feel, but I feel nervous.
Well, I'll admit I am nervous too, but the pressure was firmly on us against West Ham last week, and we came out and won 4-0, so that's a positive sign. And there was a lot of negativity going into that game on social media, etc., etc. But if they came out, put in a good performance, and West Ham didn't really have a response to it. So we're hoping Middlesbrough, they haven't really been effective in attack or defence this season. We're hoping they won't have a response either.
Yeah, looking at the Premier League table, Middlesbrough, they are 19th. Obviously, they're relegated. It's all pretty much sewn up, isn't it? The three teams relegated are Hull, Middlesbrough, and Sunderland. So, They haven't got a lot to lose, have they?
No, they haven't, but still, they've been very ineffective in attack. Negredo, who's there on loan this season, he hasn't really come up with the goods up front. And
after proving himself a good Premier League player a few years against Manchester City, I actually thought that was an inspired signing for such a small club, but it didn't work out that way.
No, it didn't. And they've been struggling for goals. They've lacked creativity all season, so that works in our favour, but we just need to be on the money. But if we switch our attention to Manchester City, I can't really see them slipping up away to Watford, if I'm being honest.
I can't see that happening either. They've been strong recently.
And they seem to have been revitalised with the return of Gabriel Jesus.
Oh God, yeah. Well, Jesus, the player they all fabled, and then we all thought he was going to be the next injury-prone. Well, I said to myself, he's just going to be an injury-prone player. But I mean, how many goals has he scored this season? It's in the double digits anyway. And considering how little he's played, that's impressive.
That's his first season in English football.
Always a tough one, yeah.
But yeah, I can't really, I think City they'll go to Watford, they'll get a 2 or 3-0 win. They won't have much problems, and they've experience in the side as well, which always helps.
Yeah, that's true. Liverpool, very inexperienced, and that's what I'm worried about, is that we're lacking leaders out on that pitch. Whereas you look to Arsenal, they've got players who have played consistently with that club for the past 3-4 seasons in the Champions League, and you look at Manchester City, and they've also got players who have been consistently performing well. Pep Guardiola's season has been, I think in most people's eyes, a disappointing one, but I can't see third being snatched away from them.
Well, this is in respect to Guardiola, it's the toughest job he's taken on in his career. when he took over at Barca, he had more or less a ready-made side there. And at Bayern Munich, he was taking over the best team in the world. But in Manchester City, he was taking over a team who might challenge for the title one season, might just get in the top four next, despite all the money they have. So I think he's done, seeing as he's been up against it, he'll take third place for his first season, but if they don't challenge for the title next season, or at least win a trophy, I think the pressure's going to mount on him then.
Yeah, I think the argument being floated around by a lot of people in Manchester, a lot of City fans I've seen on Twitter, wherever, that they weren't disappointed that they didn't challenge for the title. They were disappointed that they didn't win a trophy, because Guardiola has never had a trophyless season. So, they almost thought there was this inevitability that they would win something, and then they haven't. So, you have to say, is it a failure of a season?
No, it's not a failure of a season completely, but it'd be more, I'll compare it to Liverpool's situation, it'd be more of a failure of a season for Liverpool if they finish outside the top four than for Manchester City if they finish third and don't win a trophy. That's my 2 cents on the matter, because at Christmas time, around the New Year, Liverpool were looking strong. They were considered title challengers.
Favourites, possibly.
Of course, they had a big slump in January, February.
We didn't win a Premier League game in January.
And then they found themselves, instead of challenging for the title, challenging with Manchester United and Arsenal for a top four place. And at times, I saw a tweet there from a random fan there last week, and I have to agree with what he said. At times, between Liverpool, Manchester United and Arsenal going for the top four spot, Liverpool have just been the best of a bad bunch. But the teams are really inconsistent, let's put it that way. But it would be more of a failure for Liverpool if they finish outside the top four after the start of the season they had. Because Klopp's going to struggle to get high-profile players in the summer.
Yeah, without that Champions League place.
It's going to be nearly back to square one again.
Well, I was watching on the internet, I don't know if you've ever seen him, Duncan Oldham, coptalk.tv, and he's a very negative sort of fan, but he made a very good point the other day, is that people say, we don't need top four to get big players. You look, Pogba went to Manchester United, and, you had Chelsea, they brought in some big name players, and United have shown in the past few transfer windows that they've got that pulling power, despite not, maybe having that success, particularly in Europe. But the point he made was they've had success in recent years. Liverpool's biggest success in recent years was winning the 2011 League Cup. Manchester United have won the league, City have won the league, Arsenal have been top four season after season, and they've won a couple of FA Cups. So we need this top four, I think.
We do, but I think next season we definitely need to be looking at winning a trophy as well. Just
the league?
Yeah. That's very optimistic for next season. Maybe the League Cup or the FA Cup.
That's not it. If I'm honest, if next season we won a trophy and finished third, maybe I'd be happy. That would be the perfect springboard for the Klopp's third full season. To maybe that'll be the season, if you follow my lead. Of
course. It's progress.
It is all about...
I know Liverpool fans in my local area here, Wicklow, they're saying they want, by his third full season, they want to be league champions. I don't know if they're being too ambitious. Of course, other fans will say they're deluded, as Liverpool fans have a reputation for being deluded, apparently. But it's hard to put my finger. I don't know if maybe fourth, fifth season. I don't know about the third season, because he seems to be taking the same approach as he took at Dortmund, buying potential and mould them into world class instead of buying ready-made players. So, as you see, yesterday we were linked with Sessegnon from Fulham, and he wants another left back as well. I don't know if he's ready for Premier League football yet. If we buy him, should we loan him straight back to Fulham?
there's a potential, of course, that he could be a wonderful player, but there's also that potential that he could be another disappointment coming up from the Championship. We've seen plenty of those over the years. My favourite example has always been Connor Wickham, who everybody was hailing as the next big thing from Sunderland, and then he came up. Huh?
I remember that, yeah.
He came up and he wasn't the next big thing. Or Wilfred Zaha was Crystal Palace's protege, went to Man United and made zero impact. So I'm very sceptical of buying Championship pedigree.
I would give Zaha some credit. He's had a great season at Palace.
He's had a good season, but he when he went to the big club, he didn't excel.
It was too early for him, I think.
I don't know. I don't think he's top talent, but that's a debate maybe for another day.
We'll see. But we haven't touched on Arsenal that much. We've talked about Liverpool a lot. We talked a bit about City. We haven't talked much about Arsenal.
Arsenal. I was waiting for this one. This is my favourite. Somehow through some magical, unbelievable, ridiculous miracle, they have found themselves in 5th place when really they should be behind Man United. You look at the form though, and Man United have completely given up on the Premier League to focus on the Europa League. We'll talk about that a bit later maybe. But Arsenal, how have they managed to get within 1 point of the top 4? It's beyond me. But Arsene Wenger, if he does it again, if he gets top 4, it would, Jesus Christ rising back from the dead is going to be, you're going to look at that and think that wasn't that impressive.
I don't. It seems to be a typical Arsenal thing. They drop off in around November, December. They're poor for a few months. Then at the end, they just come racing back into a rich vein of form. It seems to be the same this time around. They've had great results away to Stoke. They broke the burden there. They had a terrible record at that. The Britannia is, I don't think it's called.
I was watching Arsenal Fan TV and they were mentioning that in the build-up that Stoke, they almost treated like a derby, even though, Arsenal's nowhere near Stoke, really.
And then Southampton, they just draw 0-0 at Anfield. We're thinking maybe they might get a result against Arsenal. It didn't happen. Arsenal went there and got a 2-0 win. And then again, Tuesday night, was it? Tuesday, yeah, at home to Sunderland. Sunderland put in a fine performance, something we haven't seen much from them.
They've been terrible this season. Terrible.
But Arsenal did break their resistance in the 71st minute, I think, with Alexis Sanchez. It was coming, but let's not lie for ourselves, it was coming. It was coming. Overall, I have to give Arsenal credit. I watched the highlights of that game. I didn't get to watch it live, and from what I saw, there wasn't a lot of Sunderland highlights. There was a lot of Arsenal highlights. So they've really come into form, which is strange because after that 3-0 defeat to Palace, which was one of the most incredible games of football I've watched in recent memory, to watch a top team be schooled really by a Sam Allardyce squad of all teams. The fans were completely Wenger out. There was huge anti-Wenger sentiment, feeling around the Emirates, and it's almost as if. Around there the other day.
Yeah,
it was at Southampton, I think it was, or was that Stoke? It was one of them. I can't remember. Sorry.
It's this sort of feeling that we can still make top 4, but it's almost as if Arsenal fans are going to repeat the cycle again next year, because if Wenger gets top 4, stays on, and they win the FA Cup again, and then Wenger stays on, and then next season Arsenal fans go, maybe he can buy the big players, and they can go at it again. Are they just going to end up in the same place again?
It's getting to the stage you think Arsene Wenger's going to die in that Arsenal dugout.
He's going to keel over and that'll be that, and then Arsenal fans will say, oh, well, Wenger out, but now he's out of his chair lying on the turf.
Yeah, but no, in terms of them making the top 4 this weekend, they're relying on Liverpool and possibly to a lesser extent Manchester City slipping up.
Well, I'm looking at the table here. They're 3 points behind City, and their goal difference is 5 goals worse off. So they need a 5-goal swing in their favour if they're to get third. But the incredible thing is, Arsenal could still finish third.
As unlikely as it is, it's still possible. But I'd say you get good odds on it in the bookies, but they're probably just throwing a fiver away, if I'm being honest. But
so you don't fancy them. You don't fancy Arsenal to get third anyway. That's what we can take from that.
No, I don't, because I fully expect City to do a professional job at Watford. But Liverpool slipping up is Arsenal's best hope of getting Champions League football next season. Otherwise, Wenger's impressive record is gone.
Here's the tough question then. If Arsenal finish fifth, regardless of the FA Cup result, does that mean he has to go? Will he go?
Yes, because will he go? I'm not sure, but does he have to go? Yes, because they haven't progressed. They've regressed more so. They're out of the Champions League. In the Europa League. They've won an FA Cup, but they've won plenty of them.
It's getting that would be their third in 4 years or something like that.
Yes, it'll be their third in 4 years. But I don't think Arsenal fans are going to be content with that. Arsenal fans are an ambitious bunch, a bit like ourselves. And they've every right to be, because they're a big club. They've history like ourselves. And they want to be challenging for the league title. But since, like Liverpool, like Manchester United, since Chelsea and the Roman Abramovich era, the Arab money for City, we've struggled at times. Obviously, there's that one freak season with Leicester, but we forget about that for the time being.
Yeah, well, that you said it, freak season.
But I don't know. I think since the big bucks came in, they struggled a little. Those three teams have struggled a little bit. People will argue Liverpool have been struggling to challenge for the title a little longer than that, but
let's not go there. Please spare me the embarrassment.
So we have to be honest here.
I want to move away from the Champions League battle.
Okay.
Well, kind of, and move to sixth place in the table, that infamous sixth place team, and they have 66 points, quite ironically. 666, the Devil, for the Red Devils, Manchester United. Is winning the Europa League enough, and the League Cup, of course?
By the sounds of it, they're going to take it, they're going to settle. But in terms of the Premier League, they haven't progressed from Louis van Gaal's last season.
The shittiest unbeaten run in the history of the Premier League is what it's being dubbed.
That's true, because they finished fifth last season under Louis van Gaal. They bought the most expensive player in the world, the Bundesliga's best player, and they went on 25 or 26?
25, I think, and not to mention they had Zlatan Ibrahimovic, who many people think is overrated, but at the end of the day, he scored a lot of goals this season.
That's another debate in itself. We won't get into that.
Yeah, well, me and you both have our opinions on that, but I think personally, Manchester United's season has been interesting. It's been one of the strangest performances by a team in a long time. I've never really. It's kind of like us from last year, but with this unbelievably boring unbeaten run, and that's what it was. It wasn't a winning run; it was an unbeaten run.
And the most honest Manchester United fans, obviously there's bad apples in every basket, but the most honest Manchester United fans would agree with you. They probably have been the most boring team to watch in the Premier League this season. They don't play attacking, exciting football or anything like that. It's just typical Jose Mourinho, really. Yeah,
well, I'm not going to fault Jose Mourinho's style of football because it has gotten results over the years, but I will agree that if you're a Manchester United fan, you're used to expansive, open, beautiful football for the beautiful game, but it's been pretty dire this season, and indeed under Van Gaal it was poor as well. But do you fancy them to beat Ajax?
It has been, in my opinion. Let's not get into David Moyes.
No.
He's worth another podcast himself.
Yeah, he's worth not just a podcast, but a whole movie, I think.
Yeah.
Manchester United, are they going to win the Europa League? Are they going to do a number on an impressive young Ajax team?
Yes, they are. They have. I can't personally. I've been saying since they got through the group stage, I can see Manchester United winning the Europa League. I just didn't think any team they managed to avoid the teams I felt could possibly stop them. And now they've been eliminated. They left this young Ajax team. I think they're gonna again. I think it could come down to experience and tactical awareness, which Mourinho certainly has. And he said in his interview after the boring 0-0 Southampton game yesterday that he's going to be playing youngsters on the weekend for the final game. I think it's a home to Crystal Palace. Yeah, it is a home to Crystal Palace. He's going to be playing youngsters at Old Trafford, and he hopes the fans are happy with that, which we don't know if they will be.
I think that's interesting that he's going to be... I think, look, we remember Liverpool last season were in a very similar situation. We had a Europa League final. We didn't care what happened in the league. We fielded a semi-weakened squad. We got a bizarre draw against Chelsea, and everybody just kind of said, well, let's move on to the Europa League final. So I can't really say that Jose Mourinho was wrong to field that weakened squad, because I was the one advocating for that last season, saying, let's put everybody in bubble wrap.
But then it's kind of switching away from it all. But remember the controversy of Huddersfield playing the weakened squad with the playoffs coming up. If you compare the two, is there any difference?
I suppose there isn't, but I said Huddersfield. I said the Stew in the build-up to this podcast that I think Huddersfield have every right to do that, and that leads us rather nicely onto the playoffs. So the results came in, and you're more of a championship follower than me. So why don't you run the people through the results of that and your predictions for the final?
Well, yeah, I think the way the playoff final has panned out, it surprised much people. A lot of pundits, so-called experts, fans, etc., would have been expecting a Fulham and Sheffield Wednesday final, but that's not how it's panned out. We're going to be treated to a Reading and Huddersfield final instead at Wembley. And I'll be honest, I didn't watch either the legs of the Reading and Fulham tie. But I do know Reading came out the winners in the end, which surprised many because Fulham were in tremendous form towards the end of the championship season, pipping Leeds United to the post for that final playoff spot. But they fell short, and they'll have to go at it again next season in the championship. But I was watching the Sheffield Wednesday Huddersfield game last night, and I have to give it to them. It wasn't an exciting game, and I do believe the right team won in the end in Huddersfield. The Sheffield Wednesday, they got the goal. It was a good header from Stephen Fletcher, but then Huddersfield made a change, brought on extra striker, and Naki Wells got the equaliser for them there. And all in all, I think after the equaliser, Huddersfield probably looked the more likely of the two teams to score, but I think it was always going to a penalty shootout, and it was going to be a battle of the two goalkeepers, two keepers who many argue were the best goalkeepers in the championship this season. In Huddersfield's Danny Ward on loan from Liverpool, of course.
Yeah, I've been impressed with him.
And the Republic of Ireland blow-in Kieran Westwood, because he's from Manchester, really.
Blow-in. Yeah. We've plenty of those. We've plenty of blow-ins from England, so Jonathan Walters,
Yeah, but that's...
Aidan McGeady from Scotland, both good performances by those this season by those goalkeepers. But the shootout was one where, and I've rewatched the shootout, and I have to say it was such a straightforward penalty shootout, wasn't it? It was just such a that miss and that was it.
Yeah, Forestieri, many people would have expected him to score. He caused a bit of a stir up at the game, a few questionable dives, but people would have been expecting the former Watford man to score. But it was a good save by Ward, and Ward, who was actually many Huddersfield people were questioning whether he should have been in the goal, seeing as he missed a few games with injuries, and their sub-keeper whose name's gone over my head. Unfortunately, apologies to him, but he put in put in a few good performances in the last few games, and a lot of people were lobbying for him to start, but Ward came in. He was impressive. There's no doubt who they want to be in the goal at Wembley.
Yep, yeah, certainly. It'll be an interesting final. My money's on Reading, but Huddersfield making the Premier League would be fascinating because, for the longest time Huddersfield were, a League One club, who just sort of stuck around League One. They didn't really make much of a name for themselves, but in the past 3, 4, 5 years they've really come on, and to see Premier League football be a story, I would say, is very similar to Bournemouth. And they've shown themselves perfectly capable this season and last season.
But Huddersfield, at the start of the year, last August, everyone would have been expecting another relegation battle. But David Wagner's come in and they've proved everybody wrong, and they want to do that again. Their captain Tommy Smith said they want to prove everyone wrong again. There's a great togetherness in the camp, and they want to shock people one more time on Sunday, I think it is, and beat Reading and go up to the Premier League. I personally prefer to see Huddersfield do it, because we've seen Reading in the Premier League before.
They've come and gone.
They've come and gone, yeah. They came up for the 2006-07 season, they survived. They got relegated the next season. Then they were up in 12-13, they got relegated again. They haven't been there since, so they haven't shown great ability to last in the Premier League. So I'd like to see a new team come up. I always like to see new teams come up. It's just a thing with me.
It's a change. Well, I can see where you're coming from, because it can get very stale looking at the same group of 6 teams come up and go down, and really it's the same ones over and over again. And I think that was more of a thing of more around 2010. And since then we've seen a lot of teams come up, go back down, and then go away. If you know what I mean. Like look at Cardiff and look at Norwich and look at Wigan.
Well, Cardiff are a bad example. Cardiff only came up once and they went back down. They're a bad example. Norwich and Hull are the 2 best examples. They're yo-yos.
Well, I'm not really talking about yo-yos. I'm talking about there was like a pool of sort of 6 teams which always sort of threatened promotion. And then they might get up and then they go back down, and that, you had this sort of group of teams that, always threatened, and then once they got up they went down, and then you thought they were going to be the next yo-yo teams. But instead we've seen, for a few seasons now, teams that were looked great sides, really plummet. And you look at Fulham as well, were a team that were Premier League establishment
for a long time, yeah.
And now they're only now trying to to spend a couple of years in the Championship before they even made a playoff challenge.
It's a tough league. As you can see, Aston Villa didn't find things very easy there this season. They finished in the bottom half, I think 13th or 14th.
Yeah, but I can see they'll be back. They will be back. I know.
It's a tough league to get out of. Rafa was smart with Newcastle. He bought players. He bought players that would be suited to the Championship, that would be able to adapt to the Championship, and it worked out for them. They nicked the league title from Brighton's grasp on the last day. But he played a smart, for a manager that's never managed in the Championship. He did the smart thing. But yeah, a lot of the Premier League clubs, QPR example.
Yep.
Fernandez, the manager, people argue the owner. He's more of a fan than he is of an owner. Like, he's not thinking of the club as a business.
Interestingly, he's actually proven himself quite a poor businessman, because he had a team in Formula 1, Caterham F1, and they folded a couple of years back. So he has a bad track record, for sure.
Well, you saw when they were in the Premier League, even when they're in the Championship, when they got relegated from the Premier League, they're trying to buy their way back up there, making ridiculous signings like Christopher Samba from Anzi. You signed him in the January, he was gone again in the summer, but they did well to get their money back on that one.
Yeah, that was a weird one.
But yeah, it was a prime example. That's a prime example. You can't really buy. It's hard to even buy your way out of the Championship. You need to be buying the right players with the right physicality levels, the right mindset to get up out of the Championship and back up into the Premier League, which is a different kettle of fish yet again.
That's very true. Very, very true. Now, I want to move on now to La Liga. Just a brief touch on La Liga, and then we'll do a news roundup, and then we'll sort of, we'll come to the conclusion here. But La Liga is it's gonna come down to the wire. We've got Real Madrid are at the top of the table by 3 points. Barcelona second. They need Real Madrid to lose to, I think it's Malaga. Madrid are playing, and Barcelona are playing Eibar. What do you see happening there?
Again, similar to the top four challenges in the Premier League, I can't see the team, which in this case Real Madrid, who are in pole position, slipping up. I think they're playing Malaga. Did you say?
Malaga, yep.
Yeah, I can't really see them slipping up, but maybe you know better. La Liga is probably more your area. Mine.
Well, certainly Real Madrid are on some fine form at the moment. They've been really, really solid the past few weeks. Cristiano Ronaldo is on a ridiculous run of form. Malaga have had an okay season, mid-table. They're 11th. Their form is pretty good. They've won 4 of their last 6 games. As for Eibar, their form a little bit more inconsistent. They've only 1 win in 6. So I think Barcelona will definitely pick up the win at the weekend. They've won their last 6 games. They're on a glorious run of form. But Real Madrid have won their last 5. So who knows? I think a lot could happen. I think anything could happen. Another thing I'd like to throw out there, very interestingly, is that Atletico Madrid are 12 points behind Barcelona in 3rd place. That's very disappointing from them this season, and from a league point of view.
Yes, you would be expecting to make a better stab at the league there, and they went out they disappointingly went out of the Champions League to their neighbours as well, which would you consider a bad season for Atletico all around?
Overall, yes. I think Atletico again have tried and failed to overcome Madrid, Real Madrid. It's if you're an Atletico fan, it can be frustrating watching them because they have clearly an excellent team, but Real Madrid just have a slightly better team, and season after season, Atletico have just sort of been. The fans anyway have been let down. They're moving to a new stadium now. The Vicente Calderón has been a wonderful ground, so maybe that'll be something that'll spark a new era of Atletico dominance. I don't see Diego Simeone moving anywhere anytime soon. So I think the future is still bright for Atletico. They've got a lot of good young players. I mean, Antoine Griezmann is still young, and they've got a whole slew of great players in the midfield. Ferreira, Carrasco, Saúl. Just really lots of talent there, so I don't think Atletico have too much to worry about moving forward.
No, probably not.
So that rounds up the football side of things. I'm just going to go through some other news in sport at the moment. We've got, obviously tonight is the Premier League darts final. We've got the 4 players there: Peter Wright, Michael Van Gerwen, Gary Anderson and Phil Taylor. Is it going to be the fairy tale ending to the Premier League for Phil Taylor?
I don't always get, despite being like the self-proclaimed darts expert, I don't always get the predictions correct, but I wouldn't write him off. Let's put it that way. I wouldn't write him off. He's got his new set of darts. He seems comfortable. The pressure is completely off him for the first time in forever nearly. He does seem, well, through his own fault in a way. He's not playing all the tournaments. He's down to a career low of number 9 in the world, but in his last year, I don't think he's going to care. But I wouldn't rule him out. He's got Peter Wright in the semi-final, who was in tremendous form of his own at the minute. I can't really call it. If Wright continues the form of the last few months, I think he'll edge it, but the saying goes, you can never write Phil Taylor off. So,
but Van Gerwen, surely he's the favourite.
He's the favourite, yeah. There's no doubt that. He's the favourite for every tournament he enters, including this one. and he's up against Gary Anderson in the semi-final, and the last few times they've met, Anderson hasn't been able to get the better of him, and if I am to make a prediction, I think MVG will come out on top in that semi-final. The last big, not including Pro Tour events and all them, but the last big win Gary has over Michael would have been in the 2015 Premier League final, as far as I can remember. But there could have been another one that I'm forgetting, but that's the last big one I can remember. And Gary came out on top. Since then, he's lost to him in the Grand Prix final, a European Championship final, and the World Championship final just gone, of course. I think it's starting to get to Gary's head a little bit. When he was the back-to-back world champion, when he had that title and he was still holding it. He had that confidence behind him. Belief. But since he's lost it, I don't know if he firmly believes he could. Of course he can if he plays to his standard, but I think he's lost that belief that he can beat MVG. But who knows? If he could put up a tight game, but I expect the Green Machine to come out the winner there.
Indeed, and just some breaking news coming in here at the moment. West Ham are interested in signing Kelechi Iheanacho from Manchester City. What do you make of that?
I think it'd be a good signing for him, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting thing to hear.
He's a good young player, and if he gets more game time at Premier League level, who knows what he could blossom into. He could be world class. We can't write him off just yet, but if he gets a lot of game time at West Ham next season, scores a reasonable between 10 and 15 goals in the league, then whatever he scores in the cup competitions, who knows, he might break into the C squad in 2 years' time. It all depends, of course, who Pep signs. We can't predict that far ahead. But
West Ham looking for a permanent deal here.
Oh, it's not a loan deal.
No. They're apparently want him to buy £20 million is the figure being touted.
It'd be a good sign for West Ham. It could very well be, in the long term, it could be a good move for Iheanacho, the player himself. But it's a good sign for West Ham. But West Ham, as we all know, they're a very ambitious club. Some people say they see themselves as perhaps a bigger club than they actually are. But while it's a good signing, will it be a signing to bring them to the next level? I don't know.
No.
Let's be honest.
Moving on with the news, Roger Federer has announced he will not be playing in this year's French Open. That's only his second missed Grand Slam of his career, would you believe. Other news, of course, Lewis Hamilton clinched a thrilling victory in the Spanish Grand Prix at the weekend, and the next Grand Prix is in Monaco. That's Sunday week. That should be fascinating, of course. So before we wrap up here, that's the main news, really. Lots of football news, but that'll of course be drying up as the season comes to a close, and we'll throw our focus elsewhere. So I'd like to say, just before we go, James, have you got anything else to add?
No, that's it for me for this week.
So that's all from us here at the Backpage Sport Podcast. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll have plenty more coming this time next week. Make sure you catch that. Goodbye.